Check, mic check, throat check, because the throat is always a bit hoarse for some unknown reason. Yeah, sorry, internet cable. This is actually, I mean, I haven't had a problem with the internet cable for about, since MapReduce, you know, I've done, I think, a solid 18 or so streams since my last problem with the internet cable, 19, I think. So it's quite rare, I don't know what happens, but thankfully spotted it without too much trouble, and yeah, wasted 9 minutes of time. But never mind, I'm just continuing on from where I left off. I probably had 0 viewers anyway, so it's fine. But yeah, just annoying. Probably, I don't know, it's probably the wireless router that broke, or no, I think actually because I heard the USB disconnect sound, I think the fucking cable here is just more delicate than I thought. I have to be slightly more careful with how I connect that up from now on. I'll probably connect it to the other side of the laptop and like pin it against my wall or something to prevent that from happening again. But never mind, listen, I only have about 15 more minutes, so I want to continue where I was. Just keep going, and then I'll, yeah, sort it all out later. So where we were was we were just describing how, so I checked the exact bit where it cut off, right? Um, I was just trying to figure out how to determine prevlog index. So I looked through my append entries, my leader code, which down here sends out append entries. God, I'm getting fucking tilted at the fact that I'm losing all this stuff and I want to get on with it immediately. Fucking internet disconnection. Yeah, I said the last thing I was saying when it cut off is that this next index, right, is the index in the log of the next thing that should be sent out. And so if that is less than this, that means it is in range of RF log. So this index exists in the leader's log, and therefore the leader has information to send. And so entries, which is what the leader sends, is then the log from that index to the end. And so this is always fine. Prevlog index is, I was saying, determined regardless of that. So even if this is not true, which means it's sending empty data, prevlog index is always next index minus 1. Next index minus 1, therefore, in the event that this is sending out data, sorry that I'm speaking so fast, I'm just angry at the fact that I lost time. Prevlog index, right? Next index, even if next index is out of range of the leader, next index minus 1 should be in range of the leader. Well, oh shit, yeah, that's a good point. Prevlog index, I should be slightly more careful. Prevlog index, I should really be calling the minimum of. Yeah, so just a slight assertion here. I'm going to call it the min, so the minimum of 2 integers. One of these integers is next index minus 1, which is the thing it should be sending out previously. But if next index happens to, for some unknown reason, have gone beyond, out of scope completely of the leader, so it's even further than the leader plus 1, then what should happen, because that's probably what happened here, there was like a re-election and shit. I'm going to instead take the minimum of this with the length of the log of the leader. That way we will make sure that the previous log index is never more than, no, the previous log index is always going to be in range if we do this, right? So in fact, for sort of elegance of code, I can write this like this. So basically I'm taking the minimum of next index and the length of the log, which is 1 bigger than the maximum accessible index in the log, always, because the log always has something in it, one thing in the 0 position, and so we're safe against the empty edge case. So next index and the length of the log. This is basically next index, but has been clipped to be at most 1 beyond the length of the log. So when I subtract minus 1, it's always in range, but it is the next index minus 1, effectively. And so that is what prevlog index is. And I don't think it is possible for me to put prevlog index here. because it's being all defined in the same kind of block. What's it saying here? Next index is always greater than or equal to 1. Yeah, that's fine. This is another assertion. I'll put it here. But yeah, I guess I may as well just do it like this to make sure that I can just always set prevlog term correctly. I'll just set it outside of this args bracket so that I can use prevlog index, which has already been predetermined. Yeah, just like that. Okay, so this now gives us stronger assertions, comma shouldn't be there, on what prevlog index is. Okay, so now prevlog index is always in range. Okay, so let's take it back to this shit. I'm trying to find in entries what's the prevlog index entry. At the moment, yeah. I guess, okay, one thing I should do before I actually try editing this, one thing I should do is I should check if this shit, while I'm still fired up and speaking loudly, I should check if this shit here would have been fixed by the change I just made. Okay, so in this case, prevlog index is, because we're sending nothing. Well, here prevlog index is 0. It already says it here. Prevlog index is allowed to be 0, which means that we're sending starting from position 1. Okay, so no, this wouldn't actually fix it, because the definition of prevlog index, I just have to make sure it's in bounds. Prevlog index of the original log, which it is. 0 is where I want it to be. So 0 is here in the log. And this thing, you know, it's. I mean, I'm trying to figure out why prevlog index was determined this way. I guess next index must have been must be on the previous heartbeat, which we can look at here. You know, all the next indices are 1, which is to say we should be sending entry 1 out next. So just the fact that this now has something in the log, but next index hasn't yet been set correctly. Is that what's happening here? So yeah. I mean, 0 is the leader, and it's still the leader here, right? I think. Oh, I've not actually managed to successfully log who is talking about all this shit. Oh dear, yeah, that's unfortunate. Basically, what I want to do is log somewhere. I want to log who I am and who I'm actually sending the data to. So when I'm running append entries, I guess I have to do this. rf.me, that's the receiver. Other, and this is the sender, which is args.leaderID. So I need to know, I need to know what exactly is printing the error. And I only have about 5 minutes to fix it because shit went wrong. So just hurry the fuck up. Work. Fucking internet connection. Seriously, I don't have time for that. Okay, here we go. Leader is 4. Okay, and it's sending a message to 1. So 4, we can trace back to the previous heartbeat that the leader sent out. You can see, in fact, here the leader is 4, and the leader received a piece of data here, and then it crashed. Okay. So what that means is, on the previous heartbeat, the leader determined what all of the next indices are. right? And they are 1, which means everyone is ready to receive the first piece of data. So this is just working normally. So the problem is prevlog index is set to 0, that is correct. But the payload should be, given that, yeah, the payload should then be everything from 1 to 1, right? So just looking at the code for what is sent out, which is, where is that stuff? So what I'm looking for is the, it's in the append entries receiver. Yeah, the thing has to merge logs basically, and so, oh, okay, my log is this, the receiver's log is this. Oh, this is the situation. So the receiver's log is 2 100. You know, it has the 2 100 in it, the receiver's log. The sender sends nothing on the heartbeat. That's what the situation is. Sorry, so the receiver's log already looks like this. The sender sends nothing on a heartbeat. And the prevlog index is therefore 0. I'm confused what's actually happening here. Well, I mean, I can see why I've managed to get, args entries is empty. And I'm saying I want to access it from a variable that doesn't exist, and that's obviously dodgy. You can't actually do this kind of indexing at all on an args entries. Any kind of payload that is completely empty cannot actually be accessed in this way. So that's kind of a fundamental bug that we're gonna have to find a way around. Because you can definitely imagine any situation where that kind of thing would happen, that you wouldn't be able to correct in any way slice an array that has length 0. So here, for example, I'm gonna do a test where I take an array called B. I define a B array, and then I say, well, B equals B sliced from 0 to the end. Right, and I run that code, and it's going to crash because there's no 0 index in B. Oh, it doesn't crash. So I can actually index it from the 0 position, even though the 0 position doesn't exist. And 1 I am not allowed to index it on, which is crazy. How is that possible? I'm allowed to index it from the 0 position, but here I'm indexing it from the 1 position, right? I'm saying the length of the log, God, I still haven't figured this out for myself, okay? In this situation, okay, let me put in comments on the code. My log already has 2 things in it. I have been sent absolute fuck all, and prevlog index saying, well, what I've been sent should be merged from the 0 position. So I'm resolving the conflicts. In my log, I have resolved all the conflicts, and then I just need to append all of the new data. But that means that what I should be deleting all the way up to prevlog term. which is I think what is going on here. Okay, I have only about 2 minutes left. Fuckeries, I only have about 2 minutes left. This is something I could have fixed in 10 minutes. For fuck's sake, I'm getting so annoyed with myself right now. Next session is going to be tomorrow morning, by the way. It's going to be at about 11:30. I might delay it for a bit. But basically what I'm going to do is just try to fix this in literally in 5 minutes and then just quit, and I'll see you again tomorrow morning, hopefully. Giving myself slightly more flexibility and not having random crashes in, you know, the short time that I want to get this kind of stuff out. So wish me luck. Yeah, the way that I'm resolving conflicts, I'm looping through my entries. What did I say for my conflict resolution in my scrap notes? We delete, if we find an entry with a different term at the same index, we just delete it, the log from there. You know what? We should actually be. I should make a change here. We shouldn't just be deleting the log from that entry. We should also be deleting the entire log from the previous entry onwards. Right? Yeah, I think so. Or to be honest, I think that's what we should be doing. So, my last thought before I leave. Follower receives information and it has a log conflict, okay? So no matter what the leader is saying, okay, this is the information you're receiving. If you can see, I mean, receiver has entry matching prevlog index and term. That should be, you know, we should be good to go from there. And that means we can just straight up append the rest of the log. Deleting conflicted log entries, you may as well just delete everything that is beyond prevlog index and term. Not just look for a conflicting entry. Instead, you know, do the success condition here. Do we have an entry matching prevlog index and term? Because this is saying, okay, check if there's a conflicting entry between myself and the payload. But the payload is always entries after prevlog index and term. So we don't actually need to do that. Instead, what we can do is just, if the entry matching prevlog index and term itself does not exist, that is then treated as a failure, a conflict, and then we delete everything from prevlog index and term onwards, and then decrement prevlog index and term. And then when this succeeds, then we also assert that there is nothing in the log past prevlog index and term. So we're always deleting everything past prevlog index and term, whether or not success is true or false. And then we merge the rest of the lists without any problems, because then we can just merge the entire payload, because the prevlog index and term are synced up, and that'll just simplify the code so much. But programming that in literally 1 minute is something I have absolutely no desire to do. So fuck it. Next sesh. Merge from delete rf.log prev log index +1 onwards, regardless of success, and merge, auto merge. Okay, fuck it, finished. For now, I'm just leaving it at that. Okay. What I will also have done by the end of today is I will have uploaded the VODs. Okay. House is starting now. I'm about to just immediately quit. I'll be back tomorrow morning at British Summer Time, 11:30 a.m. Unless I fail to get up. It might be 12:30, I think, at the absolute latest. Okay. But 11:30 is what I'm aiming for. All right. Thanks for chilling. Everything is in order. hopefully no internet issues later on. I'm gonna come up with some systems to prevent that. Thank you. See you later.